Hello, this is Lisa, CEO of White Sense and Sight for White, welcoming you to this week's Talking News on Friday the 19th of July 2024. I know as British people we talk about the weather a lot, but what on earth has been happening for July? I have to say, and I'm not trying to make anyone jealous, but having had 2 full weeks of nothing but blue cloudless skies, it has been a very welcome relief from the British summer. This said, back now and raring to go for the last couple of weeks of July before, as usual, we close all activities during August to allow the staff to take holidays and the volunteers to have a well-earned rest. Next week, at the start, the newsletter will be sent out to people. This newsletter, again, includes some member questions, which I hope you will all enjoy reading the answers to. With Newport Carnival tomorrow, with members, volunteers and staff taking part, let's hope the weather can stay a little bit more cheerful. Finally, a thank you to the members who took part in the research that I completed before I went away. I've written the report up now and it's been submitted today to meet the deadline for tomorrow. Once we've received acknowledgement of the report, we will then make the research payments out to the relevant members. Everybody stay safe. Thank you, Lisa, CEO, Sight for White and White Sense.
Here is this week's charity news, week commencing 19th of July 2024. Swimming is on Monday at Medina Leisure Centre between 1:15 and 2:15. We have the whole use of the large pool, so whether you are a lane swimmer or someone who just enjoys gentle exercise in the pool, this is open to everyone. The cost is £6 and transport can be arranged where possible. This is the last swimming session until September due to the school holidays.
There is yoga on Tuesday at Millbrook House between 1:45 p.m. and 2:45 p.m. Refreshments are served afterwards. The cost is £4.
Our weekly coffee and chat is on Wednesday at Millbrook House between 10 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. The cost is £2, which includes coffee and cake. Staff are always on hand to help with any inquiries and equipment will be available to try out.
Thursday is Mix and Mingle. This group meets between 10:30 and 2 p.m. every week. Booking for this group is essential, and at the moment there is a waiting list for people to join. All activities as normal will stop during August week, commencing the 5th of August, and will resume week commencing the 2nd of September. Tomorrow night, Saturday the 20th, we will be attending Newport Carnival. We will be meeting at 6:30 in Town Lane outside the parish centre. The parade leaves at 7 p.m. and will parade through the town. If anyone would like to join us, please come along at 6:30, 6:30 p.m. T-shirts will be available for anyone wishing to participate.
The fortnight tennis held in Ryde is on Monday the 22nd. This is held at the Ryde Mead Tennis Club behind Yelf's Hotel, starting at 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. The club volunteers help with this club and are always on hand to offer help.
Please remember, you are all invited to our open day of celebration here at Millbrook House on the 29th July between 12:30 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. We are inviting members, volunteers and supporters of the charity to all come together to see firsthand the incredibly positive effect our services have on people. Please do come along and bring family and friends, but please let us know for catering purposes.
Our monthly 100 club has spare balls available. If anyone would like to buy a ball, it is £2 per month, or £24 for the full year. The more balls in the draw, the higher the prize money each month. If you would like to take part in our monthly draw, please call the office. This is part of our fundraising activities.
We are appealing for tombola prizes for our upcoming summer events. If you have anything you wish to donate, please do not hesitate to pop into Millbrook House, or alternatively, please call the office to arrange collection.
If you would like to join any activity or want more details, please call the office on 522205.
This is Michael reading from Ireland Echo. Ventorians rejoice in Leeson Road reopens after 7-month closure. The coastal communities of Shanklin and Ventnor have been reconnected following the reopening of Leeson Road, although it is set to close again in just over 7 weeks' time. Residents and businesses in Ventnor are celebrating as the A3055 finally reopened some 7 months after a major landslide hit the Bonchurch area, leading to concerns for the safety of road users. On Wednesday, the fencing was taken down and road closed signs removed, allowing traffic to flow along the coast once again. However, temporary traffic lights are in place to keep vehicles on one side of the carriageway. Dozens of the vehicles have already passed through, some queuing to be the first, and the first Southern Vectis Route 3 bus has travelled from Shanklin to Ventnor. As first reported by Ireland Echo, an operative will remain on the site 24 hours a day for the next 7 weeks, at significant cost to the taxpayer. The road will then close again at 2200 on Sunday the 8th of September to allow borehole drilling to commence. The reopening, albeit temporary, is good news for Ventnor, and the town can now really benefit from the ease of access during the busy summer period, especially as Ventnor Fringe gets underway on Friday. Councillor Phil Jordan, council leader, who attended this morning's reopening, said yesterday, Tuesday, "While there remains consistency if currently minor movement occurs, we are confident that with the measures we will be putting in place and with electronic monitoring systems now in operation, the risk posed by the prospect of further significant movement is acceptable when balanced against the need to support the Ventnor community through the busy summer season." From the 9th of September, the road will be closed again to allow the drilling of 3 times 85 metre deep boreholes. These will allow the Highland roads to understand the nature of the underlying geology in the area, and also allow the additional monitoring equipment to be installed deep underground, something which should have taken place months ago. However, if the borehole work is not ready to start on the 9th of September, then the summer holiday arrangement will stay in place. It is unclear at this time how long the borehole drilling in September will take and when the road will permanently reopen, although it seems likely this won't be until 2025.
This is Patrina reading from Isle of Wight Radio. Cathedral displays hundreds of Isle of Wight and Hampshire children's sculptures. Lucy Claridge ruined a T-shirt creating her clay model, but she felt it was worth it. The clay figure made by the 11-year-old from Alveston C of E Junior School is just one of more than 1,000 unique sculptures now on display in Portsmouth Cathedral. Year 6 pupils from C of E schools across Hampshire and the Isle of Wight each created their own individual clay sculpture in the style of British artist Anthony Gormley. They then brought their figures to their local cathedral for a leavers service to mark the end of primary school, creating mass art installations at both Portsmouth and Winchester cathedrals. The theme of the year-long schools project was Game Changers, as pupils were invited to think about those who made a difference to our society and how they could be game changers too. Anthony Gormley was just one example of someone who had done so in the art world. I didn't wear an apron to make my clay figure, so I ruined my t-shirt, but I don't mind, said Lucy. I love the fact that each of the figures is a certain height and they all look so good together. Portsmouth Cathedral hosted more than 1,300 Year 6 pupils over 4 days of activity, workshops and leavers services during last week, July the 9th to 12th. That means hundreds of clay figures are now standing in the ancient east end of our cathedral. Year 6 pupils from church schools across South East Hampshire and the Isle of Wight visited Portsmouth Cathedral for one of the 4 days this week. They were given the chance to take part in workshops during the morning, including creating wire angels and prayer pyramids, learning more about singing and exploring the cathedral's heritage. Then there was a leavers service on each afternoon, during which pupils and school staff joined in worship songs, led prayers and received candles that they can light during the next year when they gather for collective worship.
This article, read by Howard from the Isle of Wight Radio, concerns the Age UK Isle of Wight urgent appeals for support following the closure of digital-friendly service. Age UK Isle of Wight is calling on the community for support following the closure of its digital-friendly island service due to the end of fixed-term funding. The service, which provided vital support to older residents in navigating the digital world, has ceased operations, leaving 5 staff members without jobs. Despite efforts to secure alternative funding, the charity was unable to sustain the service without further financial backing. The closure of the digital-friendly island service is a significant loss for the Isle of Wight community, as it served hundreds of older individuals each year. Age Isle of Wight says it remains committed to supporting older residents who are offline and overlooked, and is working tirelessly to assist them in any way possible. The charity has enlisted the help of dedicated digital volunteers to continue running digital drop-in venues at community homes across the island, ensuring that older residents still have access to much-needed support. The charity's Good Neighbours scheme will facilitate low-level digital support that can be delivered to individuals at home. Age UK Isle of Wight are actively exploring opportunities to continue delivering digital support in the community. We are saddened by the closure of the digital-friendly island service, which serves as a stark reminder of the constant need for ongoing funding. We are grateful for support in whatever size it comes, said Maria Bunce, Chief Officer at Age UK Isle of Wight. While this service may have ended, our commitment to supporting older residents remains unwavering. We continue to run all our other services as usual, and your donations are crucial in helping us make a positive impact in the community. To donate or learn more about how you can support Age UK Isle of Wight, visit the official website. Alternatively, you can call 525 282 or email at the appropriate fundraising address.
This is Michael reading from Island Echo. Council urges islanders not to fly tip garden waste this summer. The Isle of Wight Council is asking islanders to correctly dispose of their garden waste this summer season. Garden waste is often found fly-tipped on the Isle of Wight Council land. This is most often found by back gates or fence lines of residential properties. Residents often don't realise how harmful this can be to the environment. The negative effects of fly tipping garden waste include the introduction of invasive species to the local habitat. It can also cause damage to trees by raising soil levels around the base, which reduces the oxygen available to the tree bark and roots, increasing the likelihood of tree death. The term invasive species refers to not native plants and animals that have been introduced into wild habitats. There are 36 species of invasive plants that are listed as species of concern in the United Kingdom. They include Himalayan balsam, Japanese knotweed, and monkeyflower. It is an offence under the Wildlife and Countryside Act 1981 to spread any of these invasive species. This includes spreading by fly tipping.
This is Patrina reading from Isle of Wight Radio. Carpet-right takes step towards collapse with Isle of Wight jobs at risk. Carpet-right takes step towards collapse with 1,850 UK jobs at risk, including those of island-based workers in Newport. The retailer's parent firm says it remains in discussions with interested parties as Carpet-right battles to secure new investment and avoid administration. One of the UK's biggest flooring retailers, Carpet-right is now just one step away from a collapse that would place 1,852 jobs across the country at risk. Cash-strapped Carpet-right confirmed it has filed a notice of intention to appoint administrators. Such a move typically gives the company up to 10 days to potentially avoid an insolvency process. The loss-making firm said in a statement that it was still working towards a reprieve and would continue to trade as normal from its store, estate and online. Parent firm Nestware Holdings stated it was still trying to finalise additional investment to secure Carpet-right's long-term future, but suggested that some job losses were inevitable whatever the outcome. Nestware Chief Executive Kevin Barrett said, "We remain focused on securing external investments to ensure as few customers and colleagues are impacted as possible. They are our main priority, and we are taking all appropriate action to make sure they are informed and supported through this process. We have begun promising conversations with interested parties that are moving in the right direction, encouraging us that Carpet-right has a viable future." Sky News revealed in May that Carpet-right, which has 272 UK stores, was cutting more than 25% of its head office staff in Essex under renewed efforts to save cash.
This article, read by Howard from the Island Echo, is concerned with an increase in RSPCA figures. The RSPCA has warned that animal cruelty is on the rise, with the charity receiving 108 cruelty reports so far this year on the Isle of Wight alone, with its busiest period yet to come. The new figures, released on Wednesday, show that there have already been 44,879 reports of cruelty towards animals so far this year across England and Wales up to the end of June. This is more than 2% higher than the 43,983 calls received during the same time frame last year. Cruelty is rising even more quickly on the Isle of Wight, with reports locally up by 10.2% this year. But the worst could be yet to come. Last year saw the charity receive a report of animal cruelty every 5 minutes during its busiest summer months, and its officers are now braced for another busy period. The animal welfare charity has now launched its No Animal Deserves Cruelty summer appeal as it responds to the seasonal peak in cruelty. Karen Coleman, who heads up the RSPCA Welfare Oversight Team, said, "Sadly, animal cruelty reports are on the rise already this year, and on the Isle of Wight alone, we've seen 108 animal cruelty reports already this year." Reports of international harm towards animals and beatings also rose sharply across the country last summer, so we're preparing for a difficult period ahead. But rescuing animals from cruelty, investigating harm caused to them, and acting to prevent animal abuse is a job no other charity does. We'll always be here to pick up the pieces and show those animals the kindness and care they deserve. The RSPCA hopes support from people across the Isle of Wight will help make the difference for animals this year. More information on the RSPCA's No Animal Deserves Cruelty appeal can be found on the charity's website.
This is Michael reading from Isle of Wight Radio. More accolades awarded to Kelbourne Classics at Royal Isle of Wight County Show. This year's Royal Isle of Wight County Show Awards saw multiple accolades for Kelbourne Classics during its 35th year of serving the local community. The Royal Isle of Wight County Show is a key event in the agricultural calendar. The weekend-long event celebrates a myriad of aspects of the Isle of Wight, including local farmers, producers and their community. Kelbourne Classics were awarded not only the Countryside Business Award, but also the overall Isle of Wight Rural Business Award. The awards, which honour those who demonstrate success and achievement from all parts of the island's rural economy, come during what is a milestone year for Kelbourne Classics. Founded in 1989 by the late Jill Corwood, 2024 marks 35 years since they became established. Danny Horn of the Royal Isle of Wight Agricultural Society acknowledged the founder during the presentation. Jill was a champion for dairy farmers and a well-known figure in the agricultural sector. She had a dairy herd of her own at the Three Gates farm in Shelfleet, and following her death in 2015, two of her daughters, Louise Hart and Jenny Simmons, received the awards. In her memory, the Jill Corwood Memorial Cup for the young Corley Handler was presented by Louise at the show to worthy winner Jess Isaacson.
This is Patrina reading from the Island Echo. 31% increase in call-outs for Hampshire and Isle of Wight Air Ambulance. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Air Ambulance responded to a third more emergency incidents in the first half of 2024 than in the same period last year. Statistics reveal that the life-saving charities doctors, dispatchers, pilots and paramedics responded to 1,183 emergency call-outs from across the region, with the bulk of the missions coming from Southampton, Portsmouth, Basingstoke, Gosport, Fareham and Newport. On average, there was an extra 2 patients every day who needed the specialist cares of the air ambulance team. The service surpassed 1,000 call-outs in June, with May, 222, the busiest month for the service, its busiest month since July 2019. On average, each mission costs £3,500, with the charity needing to raise around £10 million this calendar year to remain fully operational. The charity points towards an increase in critical care paramedic car shifts, which run in conjunction with the team on the helicopter, and successful clinical recruitment over the past 12 months, as to why it can respond to more patients more regularly. The team only attend the most seriously ill and injured patients in the region and can provide hospital-level care at the beachside, roadside, countryside or bedside. The most frequent calls for help were for cardiac arrests, accidental injuries and road traffic collisions. The service runs entirely on donations from the public and points to its dedicated supporters to ensure it can continue to be there for patients in need. Dr. Simon Hughes, clinical leader for Hampshire and the Isle of Wight Air Ambulance, said, "Every day we give our patients, their friends and families the best chance of not only survival but a successful recovery. Nobody knows if or when they're going to need us, but a cardiac arrest, medical incident or road traffic collision can happen to anyone, anytime, anywhere. We are 100% funded by the generosity of the public that we serve, and we were all incredibly humbled and grateful to everybody who continues to keep us responding to the people who need us most."
This article from the Island Echo, read by Howard, concerns the roadworks in Ventnor Cliffs Road. Work to make safe Gills Cliff Road in Ventnor is progressing well, with the section set to be reopened to traffic on Friday 9th of August. Gills Cliff Road has been closed for safety reasons since a significant rockfall sent tons of debris spilling onto the highway back in February, some 5 months ago. A set of traffic lights was destroyed in the rockfall, which saw boulders so big they had to be broken up before they could be removed. In recent months, Island Roads has been working on a design to stabilise the cliff face. The solution, being installed by local company DDGA, will see a netting of high tensile steel anchored to the rock face by 70 rock anchors or dowels. The 300 square metres of netting will both support the rock face but also prevent any boulders that do become loose falling into the highway. A similar, though not permanent, solution was also used on the recent project to make Belgrave Road in Ventnor safe before it was reconstructed. Welcoming the news, Councillor Philip Jordan, Isle of Wight Council leader, said it was always our intention to open up access to Ventnor as soon as it was safe to do so. These processes do take time, but we've been working away behind the scenes to find solutions to difficult engineering challenges, and I'm pleased progress is being made. Madeline Clewett, Island Roads geotechnical engineer, added, "I'm sure Ventnor residents will be relieved that work is underway and the reopening of Gills Cliff Road is now very much in sight. We're once again happy to have been able to call on the expertise and skill of a local company to deliver this project." The news comes just 24 hours after Leeson Road, the main road connecting Shanklin to Ventnor, was reopened, albeit temporarily. The council warns that the reopening date of 9th of August is subject to factors such as adverse weather or other on-site conditions encountered.
And now there's more news items from the Isle of Wight County Press, read by Lynn Patey
and Gerard Anthony.
A new service to offer islanders free bespoke advice to keep homes warm and affordable. And this is from Isle of Wight Radio. A new service, EnergyWise, has launched on the Isle of Wight, offering local homeowners bespoke advice tailored to their needs, helping them make their homes warmer and cheaper to run. This service includes an in-depth assessment of each property using thermal imaging cameras to evaluate the efficiency of heating systems. Following the assessment, homeowners receive a comprehensive energy performance report and retrofit plan. The advice provided will include recommendations that can be implemented at little or no cost, along with a medium-term plan for further home improvements. Additionally, the service offers assistance with applying for government grants to support these upgrades. This initiative is unique to the Isle of Wight in its scale, and local residents are encouraged to take advantage of this opportunity before the scheme concludes in early 2025. The project, funded by the Department for Energy, Security and Net Zero, is delivered by Green Isle of Wight, CIC, as an expansion of a programme currently being run by Testlands in Southampton. Lisa Beanie, Managing Director of Green Isle of Wight, CIC, said, "I'm thrilled we can offer this service on the island. It is the missing link that will enable people to make a material difference to their lives."
Millions of tons of carbon dioxide, CO2, could, in the near future, be transported in pipes running from Gurnard to Atherfield and from Porchfield to Compton, supporting efforts to reduce carbon emissions. It said that although there are plans for a mainland corridor, the preliminary preferred option is to utilize both the Isle of Wight North to South corridor and the Isle of Wight North to West corridor. A final corridor will be selected and route information released this winter ahead of a statutory consultation launching in spring-summer 2025. Carbon capture and storage is a process of capturing carbon dioxide that would otherwise be released into the atmosphere. It is then transported via a pipeline to an underground storage location. Storage locations are typically deep rock formations, which can provide the conditions for safe, secure, and permanent storage. Michael Foley, UK Low Carbon Emissions Solutions Venture executive at ExxonMobil, has said, "The proposed pipeline will be capable of safely transporting millions of tons of captured carbon dioxide, potentially removing the equivalent of 5 million cars from the roads each year." The UK Climate Change Committee acknowledged CCS technology as a game changer, describing it as a necessity, not an option. And we are proud of the work we are doing to bring it to the Solent, one of the most industrially significant areas in the UK. Many industrial sectors in the Solent are essential, yet challenging to decarbonize, like those at our Foley petrochemical complex, which produces a diverse range of essential products like fuels and rubber products. This pipeline and CCS technology will not only support the regional economy and maintain high-skilled jobs, but will also contribute to the government's goal of achieving net zero by 2050.
Isle of Wight business teams up with electric bike service. An Isle of Wight logistics service has struck up a partnership with a popular electric bike and scooter service, Voi, that's VOI. Independent business, Kiat, will be responsible for battery changes, safety checks and ongoing maintenance. Voi, which took over the Isle of Wight contract from Beryl, offers electric bikes and scooters for public rental. Users can pick up one of the eco-friendly vehicles from various locations around the island and return them to designated bays after use. To access the fleet of Voi scooter and bikes, Kiat uses its ultra-low emissions e-cargo bikes and e-van, making sure the whole Voy operation on the island is sustainable and working towards the Isle of Wight's net zero by 2040 aim. The partnership will initially focus on Cowes, Newport and Ryde, with plans to expand the service in the future. We are thrilled to partner with Voy and support the growth of electric bike and scooter services on the island, said Matthew Whitaker, Director at Kiat. By ensuring these vehicles are safe and well maintained, we are contributing to a greener, more sustainable future for our community. The new contract with Voy has enabled Kiat to hire additional paid staff. To rent an electric bike or scooter, download the Voy app.
Fresh approach. Plea over ferries. The leader of the Isle of Wight Council has confirmed plans are afoot for a fresh approach to government over island ferries and their unreliability. At a meeting of the Council's Corporate Scrutiny Committee on Tuesday, Councillor Phil Jordan said he intends to work with the island's 2 new MPs in the hope of introducing a public service obligation, PSO. PSOs are commonly used for airlines and train lines to ensure certain service and pricing levels are maintained. Chair of the committee, Councillor Claire Mosdell, said major disruption on Red Funnel on Monday proved just how difficult it can be for islanders. She was among those caught up in the cancellations, which saw the firm's vehicle service completely suspended for a large part of the day, following a technical issue with a link span. Councillor Mosdell said it left her stuck on the mainland and accused the other ferry operator, Whitelink, of hiking prices. Speaking at the meeting, she said, "In events like yesterday, it does not give the other operator the right to put the prices up." She said the cost to travel on Whitelink was around £200 more than usual for the same journey. Similar concerns were also shared by Isle of Wight West MP Richard Quigley yesterday. In response, Whitelink said the company made no alterations to its fare pricing policy as a result of Red Funnel's difficulties. Mondays in July are always very busy at Whitelink. However, we have worked with Red Funnel to support its customers by carrying them on our vehicle ferries wherever we have space, a spokesperson for the company said. Although the Council has limited power and cannot bring forward legislation for ferries itself, Isle of Wight Council CEO Wendy Pereira hoped talks with the island's 2 new MPs could give the local authority a voice and narrative. Council leader Phil Jordan said, "We will be urging our MPs to intervene and are working towards an approach to go to the Competition and Markets Authority, CMA, to see whether they can intervene with a public service obligation." He said attempts had been made in the past, but the previous government deemed that services to the island were efficient and sufficient.
Ireland's Golden Boys, big win for Team GB. Future Olympic hopefuls from the island, teenage rowers Carter Horrocks and Lewis Sheesby, struck gold representing Team GB against France on Saturday. Both boys were selected to row for Great Britain in the J16 men's double category. following highly successful trials at the National Water Sports Centre in Nottingham recently. Thanks to the fundraising efforts of islanders, the boys received the financial support they needed for travel, accommodation, transporting their boat and coaching fees to France, allowing Lewis and Carter the opportunity to continue showing their huge promise in the sport. The boys, both members of Shanklin and Sandown Rowing Club, Carter 16 and Lewis 15, needed to raise at least £2,000 to make their dream of competing on the continent a reality. Before the event in Les Repos, near Rouen, both were excited and filled with pride by the prospect of representing the nation overseas. Carter's proud mum, Ursula, was in France to watch the race and cheer them on. She said of the race, "The French double caught the boys off the start, but they focused well and retained good composure to get back on terms. Gaining distance and boat speed with every stroke, Carter and Lewis pulled away to build clear water ahead of the French." The boys responded superbly to a final sprint from their opposition by stepping up their rate again to cross the line a single length ahead of the French. Unbeaten this season, the talented teenagers are aiming to reclaim British Junior Rowing Championships gold medal they won 2 years ago when they travelled back to the National Water Sports Centre for the 2024 event starting today.
Schools facing closure due to know their fate next term. Names of primary schools at risk of shutting will be revealed in September, and closures are likely to take effect from autumn next year, the Alouette Council has confirmed. It formed part of the local authorities' plan to tackle the issue of surplus schools places. Having too many empty seats and not enough pupils to fill them has a stark and severe financial impact, the council has warned. For every surplus place, schools lose more than £4,400, affecting resources, opportunities, and the quality of education children receive. According to the council, by March 2027, 22 island primary schools may face budget deficits, potentially amounting to a cumulative £7.4 million or more. Plans were to be further discussed at a council cabinet meeting last night, Thursday. At a meeting of the council's Corporate Scrutiny Committee on Tuesday, July the 16th, the council set out its timetable of plans to address surplus places. It was revealed the list of schools earmarked for expansion, amendment or closure will be named at Cabinet on the 12th of September. This will be followed by a formal consultation period. A decision on which schools will shut would then be made in December, and the closures would likely take effect from autumn 2025. Ashley Whitaker, Director of Children's Services at the Council, said, "This is fundamental to improving education on the island. Head teachers and governing bodies are very broadly in agreement with the need to act in quite significant way. This is a problem here and now. A Children's Services partnership between the Alouette Council and Hampshire County Council ended back in February after a decade. Since taking over the Council's Children's Services, say they have visited every island school and worked closely with head teachers and governors. Previous attempts to tackle the issue of surplus places saw the council criticised for publicly naming at-risk schools. This time around, a series of public drop-ins for parents and staff have been held in advance, as well as plans to launch a formal consultation.
Lifeboat volunteers, royal recognition. The vital community role played by the volunteers and coxswain of the Sandown and Shanklin Independent Lifeboat has attracted royal recognition and the highest possible award handed to a voluntary group. The lifeboat, located on the Sandown-Shanklin revetment, has received the King's Award for Voluntary Service. Isle of Wight Lord Lieutenant Susie Sheldon presented the award to coxswain Mark Birch on behalf of lifeboat service and congratulated him and his volunteer crew at a special civic event held last Friday. Susie said, "The selfless dedication and commitment of Mark, the crew and the support team of fundraisers and volunteers more than deserves recognition with the award of the King's Award for Voluntary Services." She also presented Mark with a unique piece of glassware and a certificate signed by King Charles. The civic event held at Sandown's Broadway Centre also featured the reading of a citation by Deputy Lieutenant Dr. Nicholas England to around 100 dignitaries. The audience included newly elected East Wight MP Joe Robertson, together with Sandown Mayor Councillor Alex Lightfoot, former Mayors Gary Young, Councillor Heather Humby and Councillor Paddy Lightfoot, Isle of Wight Council Chairman Councillor Carl Love and Vice Chair Councillor Vanessa Churchman. Mark was delighted with the award. He said it was a great honour to accept the award on behalf of the crew and all involved with the Sandown and Shanklin Independent Lifeboat, especially from the Lord Lieutenant, who has been incredibly supportive since coming into post. Lifeboat volunteers also enjoyed a specially made King's Award cake, cut by the Lord Lieutenant, with all members receiving special King's Award badges in recognition of their individual contribution and service to the community of Sandown Bay and the island.
Pot plants. Cannabis pops up in public flower beds. Cannabis plants discovered growing in a Ryde Town Centre community flower bed were speedily removed this week. It has been suggested the two plants could have come from seeds carried and dropped by a bird. A concerned member of the public contacted the county press after spotting the plants in Ryde outside the Anglesey Street cooperative store. Local expert Chris Kidd, curator at Ventnor Botanical Garden, and Colin Pope of the Isle of Wight Natural History and Archaeological Society confirmed that the plants were in fact cannabis. Charity Helen's Farm is responsible for planting flora in the flower beds, which are managed by Ryde Town Council, RTC. RTC clerk Lisa Dyer said, "We would like to thank people for their vigilance in reporting this plant so quickly. It was speedily removed, and we encourage the residents of Ryde to contact the authorities regarding any and all drug-related issues." An anonymous note sent to the county press and signed by Disgruntled of Binstead said they really could not believe their eyes when they saw it.
A woman stole £15,000 from a holiday park. A woman who embezzled more than £15,000 from her employers, a holiday park, learned her fate when she appeared before island magistrates. Catherine Lucas of Crossway, Bembridge, appeared for sentencing at the Isle of Wight Magistrates' Court on Tuesday. At an earlier hearing, Lucas, 27, admitted theft by an employee between October the 1st, 2019 and August the 1st, 2021. Lucas, who worked for Waverley Park Holiday Centre, East Cowes, was caught transferring money from the company's business account into her personal bank account, said Liz Miller, prosecuting. She said she stole money to the value of £15,033.84 across 55 separate transactions. In July 2021, it was brought to the attention of her manager after it came to light 4 such transactions were made in one day, which was unusual, the bench was told. Lucas, with no previous convictions, immediately repaid £381.51, but was dismissed, telling her employers loan sharks were after her grandmother. When Lucas confessed what she did to her grandfather, he went to the holiday camp and repaid £1,556.38 from his own pocket, leaving Lucas owing £13,085.93. Police examined her bank accounts, confirming all the illegal transactions Lucas made over a period of almost 2 years, said Mrs. Miller. Once it started, it was like a ball rolling down a hill gathering moss, and she got herself into a pickle, said Bridget O'Hagan for Lucas. The money was not spent on luxuries, but on helping others, which gave her self-esteem. It was a relief for her when she confessed to her grandfather, but it will be incredibly difficult for her to get work. It was a breach of trust, but it was not a sophisticated theft, as funds went straight into her personal account. She will endeavour to repay the money. Magistrates handed Lucas 6 months' jail, suspended for 18 months, with an order to pay Waverley Park Holiday Centre £2,000 compensation. After the case, Waverley Park owner Julian Adams said he disputed the evidence and that Lucas had made no attempt to repay any of the stolen money.
High Street treat for all chocoholics. Chocoholics, take note. A new shop dedicated to and celebrating all things chocolate has been opened in Sandown, with the blessing of its mayor, no less. The town has welcomed the arrival of a new and innovative enterprise, Fran Powell's Everything Chocolate, France-Belgian Creations, which opened to a virtual fanfare in the High Street on Tuesday. Sandown Mayor, Councillor Alex Lightfoot, joined with members of the Sandown community at the official opening of Fran's shop. I first came to Sandown 30 years ago and very much want to be part of the town's regeneration, said Fran. We have worked tirelessly for 6 weeks and with the help of friends and family to ensure we can be open for the summer season. I'd like to thank all those who have given their time and upcycled the decorations in the shop. Opening daily from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., but closed on Sundays, the shop offers a range of unique chocolate creations, from waffles and cakes to individually crafted sweets and drinks. There is also the promise of creative chalk-related workshops in the autumn. Councillor Lightfoot added, Fran's Belgian Creations is a welcome addition to the High Street. I wish her success. I am sure she will have the support of the town.
Sheds blaze spreads to house and vehicles. The stench of scorched belongings permeated through Lake following a major fire last Thursday. Fire crews from across the island were alerted to the incident on Desmond Price Close shortly before 7 o'clock. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Fire and Rescue Service received around 20 emergency calls reporting the blaze. Firefighters from Sandown, Ryde and Shanklin were supported by Ventnor's water carrier and the Newport aerial ladder vehicle. The fire, involving an area of sheds, spread to the roof of a nearby house before also damaging a camper van and a car. Residents living in the area had described hearing at least one explosion, with the bang heard in Sandown. Firefighters in breathing apparatus tackled the fire using jets and hose reels, and gas and electric engineers isolated the supplies to the building. A re-inspection was carried out on Friday morning to ensure there were no remaining hotspots.
Drone trial for takeoff. A 6-month trial allowing commercial drone flights between the island and the mainland has moved a step closer after the Isle of Wight Council declared the project clear for takeoff. Company Intelliports has struck an agreement to use the long-stay car park at Mornington Road, Cowes, as a launch and landing site. It means the car park will be shut for the entirety of the trial. The purpose of the project is to create a drone corridor to the mainland, improving the community's access to goods and decarbonizing island logistics. Intelliports, one of the UK's leading drone operators, will operate up to six flights a day each way, during the daytime only, the council said. When plans were unveiled back at a stakeholder event in April, those behind it said it could be a game changer. Concerns were raised about the impact it could have on wildlife and the environment, though especially with the drone site being next to Mornington Woods. Confirming permission has been granted for the company to use the car park, a council spokesperson has said. Local ecologists have been engaged prior to starting testing and have found no significant impact to wildlife in granting this trial. To further mitigate any potential issue, monitoring of protected species has been insisted on and will be undertaken throughout the trial. The stakeholder event in April heard how a drone would be launched from a distribution hub in Foley, 400 feet in the air, to Cowes. Waiting to receive missions would be a 20-feet shipping container based at Mornington Road car park. David Park, Chief of Strategy for Intelliports, said the project was about being innovative in an environmentally friendly way. He said, "There is a huge demand for same-day deliveries, but that comes with more vans on the roads, which is not a good thing for the environment. How do we stop the number of vans on roads doubling?" he said. "Our mission is to build a scalable service that can integrate this net zero project in a commercial manner. The trial is expected to take flights from the 7th of August to February the 2nd. During this period, the entire Mornington Road car park will be shut.
A party in the square draws the crowds. With the weather firmly on its side, the annual summer party in Vernon Square Ryde attracted about 200 guests, a record attendance. The event generated much-needed funds for the continued upkeep of the gardens, which are open to all throughout most of the year. Queues started to form at the entrance before the 2 o'clock start, as enthusiastic supporters were keen to set out their chairs and rugs before the first notes struck up by the Vectis Brass Band, the first of 3 musical performances during the afternoon. Vectis introduced its youth band as a finale extra before the rug band took the stage, keeping the mood upbeat. The raffle draw took place with 15 top prizes ranging from the Duck restaurant vouchers, local produce and delicacies from the vegetable cart and pickle and dill, crafts and accessories from the Cloth and Comfort and the Wool Shop, mermaid gin and mermaid rum, and a cut and blow dry with Kaylee at 21 Salon. The afternoon closed with Steve Love on guitar with his medley of songs about island life. There were brisk takings at the Pims and Prosecco bar, and cakes and savouries prepared by the Vernon Square Conservation Society volunteers proved popular. The Vernon Square Gardens, created in 1830, were once nearly lost by plans for a car park. It was safely rescued by the Vernon Square Conservation Society, whose volunteers regularly meet up to tend the lawns, pathways and borders. All funds generated at the summer party will be used for any professional services required, such as insurance, green waste, tree surgery, equipment hire and general maintenance, to ensure that all visitors can continue to use these unique gardens safely in what is the island's only garden square.
College Bright Sparks raise success. Student teams from Cowes Enterprise College entered the British final of the H2GP hydrogen-powered RC car endurance race in Scotland. Team Eco Futures and Team Eco Change journeyed 400 miles for the event. The students designed, built and raced hydrogen-powered cars in a 4-hour rally. Despite intense competition, Team Eco Change achieved the second fastest lap and led the race for 1.5 hours before a motor problem forced them to withdraw. Team Eco Futures completed an impressive 221 laps before they met power management issues. Rachel Kitley, college principal, said, "All of us are so proud of how hard our students have worked across this exciting project. Seeing their dedication, passion, and knowledge grow has been truly inspiring, and it is great to see their work come to fruition in this exciting challenge."
This article is entitled "It Does Not Feel Like Justice at All." A rogue trader who made more than £640,000 by fleecing 50 customers has been ordered to pay back just over £100, with a victim saying this is a slap in the face. Lawrence Martin was jailed for 5 years for defrauding £643,398 from customers after making false promises as he carried out building works and repairs that he never finished. He worked all over the south of England, including the island. A confiscation hearing at Southampton Crown Court heard how his company, CLJ Roofing Limited, benefited £501,000 from his fraud. But appearing in court via video link from HMP Coldingley in Surrey, Martin was ordered to pay back just £108.96, with his company told to pay £1. One of his victims was Eastleigh resident Judith Kipling, who employed Martin of Burnham Chase in Southampton to build a wet room in 2021. She was duped out of £32,500, all of her and her husband's joint life savings, and left only with shoddy and incomplete work. Judith said the order is a slap in the face. She said it was supposed to be justice. We all knew we would never get anything back from him, but it beggars belief. It does not feel like justice at all. Lawrence is prolific, so when he gets out, he'll do it again. Obviously, the court hasn't taken this seriously. I'm stunned. Prosecutor F.U. Crawley said, £108.96 is the only available money to confiscate, adding that both accounts used by Martin are due to be closed by the bank. Martin must pay in 56 days or serve an extra 14 days in jail. Martin, 36, carried out botched jobs in 29 instances. In total, he defrauded more than 50 victims over 3 years. He used bullying behaviour towards the customers, using the money gained to buy more materials, work on other incomplete jobs, or keep it for himself. He was jailed in February. Martin previously admitted carrying on a business or company with intent to defraud creditors and participating in fraudulent business and trading. CLJ Roofing Limited admitted money laundering.
Runway success for fashion students. Final year fashion and textiles students from a sixth form dazzled audiences with an exhibition and runway show featuring their final pieces. Each island sixth form student designed and crafted a unique ball gown for a special person, drawing inspiration from diverse thematic approaches. The brief required the use of a reclaimed and sustainably sourced fabrics to address the fashion industry's issues with waste and exploitation. The exhibition ran daily from the 27th of June to the 9th of July at Independent Arts in Newport, opening with a packed runway show on the evening of the 26th of June. For the first time, the event was live-streamed on Facebook, allowing a wider audience to appreciate the students' work. The event also featured a collection to support independent arts, raising over £100. Course tutor Sarah Cox praised the students, saying, "The show and exhibition were a huge success, a direct reflection of the hard work and determination they have shown from the very beginning of the course. The creativity and individuality of their design is remarkable, and we are so proud of each and every one of them. They all brought a fresh perspective and unique, innovative approach, which resulted in stunning final pieces. The Island Sixth Form would like to thank Independent Arts photography student Dan Ohm and everyone who attended the runway show or exhibition. A new cohort of students will begin the fashion and textiles course in September, and applications are welcome from any interested current year 11 students.
Isle of Wight dancers enjoy international success to bring medals home for England. 5 young dancers from the Isle of Wight have brought home gold, silver and bronze medals after they joined Team England in a prestigious global dance competition in the Netherlands. Aged just 8, 9 and 10 years old, the 5 girls who train with the Starlight Academy in Newport travelled to the Global Dance Open Finals in Apeldoorn last week, July the 8th to the 12th, to compete in ballet, jazz, street dance and acro sections. Oriella, Aria, Imogen, Duwater and Lily went up against dancers from across the world, including Gibraltar, United Arab Emirates, Spain, Canada and South Africa, having qualified in an earlier competition in Kent. As a group, the girls came in second place for their jazz routine, while their commercial group dance placed third. The girls paired up for lyrical and ballet dancers, with Lily and Imogen taking a bronze medal in ballet. Meanwhile, Lily and Diwata became world champions for their lyrical duet, placing first and bringing home gold medals. Aria and Imogen placed fourth in their lyrical duet, and Oriella, Aria and Diwata placed sixth for their ballet trio. Dance teacher Mary Bowdery said, "We had an incredible week in the Netherlands and we now have some world champions among us. Thank you to our sponsors Red Funnel, White Aid and Rouse Intellectual Financial Planning, as well as our amazing supporters. These girls are really outstanding and the results just prove it." The girls spent the months leading up to the event fundraising to help cover costs and have expressed a huge thank you to everyone from the Isle of Wight who supported them.
Fun for all the family at the county show. The popular Royal Isle of Wight County Show, one of the oldest events in the island's entertainment calendar, returned at the weekend. Since 1833, the show has been an opportunity for the agricultural community to come together and showcase their talents. Gates opened at 10 o'clock on Saturday, the 13th of July, with thousands entering to attend the much-loved two-day event. Visitors enjoyed a fantastic array of local food and quality island arts and crafts, while also having the chance to see prize-winning animals and vintage tractors. Highlights included carriage driving, the Shetland Pony Grand National, the Hobby Horse event, and the Big Bale Challenge. In the livestock area, attendees watched cows being milked and sheep being sheared, with some even trying their hand at herding a pig or leading a calf. The canine area was bustling with excitement as the popular fun dog show took place on both days. Many visitors entered their pooches and tested their skills in the new dog scurry event. Appearing for the first time was the Apley Beach area, which was a favorite with children and weary parents, who took a well-earned rest in the deck chairs. On the village green, a full program of acts entertained all ages. With activities spread across the showground, the event's heart remained true roots to its rural roots, celebrating everything the island's countryside has to offer.
A serial offender went on the rampage after test results. A serial offender who went into a supermarket he had been banned from insulted a woman and caused damage by hurling a shopping basket at a newsstand, a court was told. Bradley Sparshot admitted assaulting a man by beating, causing criminal damage and shoplifting at the Co-op East Cowes on April the 22nd, when he appeared at the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court on Friday, July the 12th. Sparshot, 32, of York Avenue, East Cowes, had, in committing the offences, flouted a suspended jail sentence imposed in July 2022. He entered the store and was immediately confronted by a male member of staff who recognised him as being banned. He began yelling abuse at staff, said Lauren Stone, prosecuting. Sparshot then slapped the staff member's arm, which made him feel very uncomfortable, the court heard. He then took a bottle of wine and threatened to punch him, before hurling a shopping basket at a newspaper stand. Sparshott appeared with a criminal record, 69 convictions for 151 offences. For Sparshott, Oscar Vincent said his client told staff when he entered the store he was dying due to his poor health at the time. He is diagnosed with severe health issues such as kidney and liver failure, pancreatitis and severe thrombosis, said Miss Stone. On the day in question, after doing so well on his release from prison, he relapsed after his test results came back, informing him his illnesses are progressive, leaving him with a period of 1 to 4 years to live. He went into emotional decline that day. The slap to the member of staff did not cause pain, described as being like that of someone greeting a friend, but which made him feel very uncomfortable. His homelessness in the past has been the root cause of his offending behaviour. Magistrates handed Sparshott an order to pay the co-op £248 in compensation for wine and damage caused.
Paedophile who preyed on young girls walks free. An Isle of Wight paedophile who left one of his child victims unable to sleep has walked free from court after being diagnosed with schizophrenia. Southampton Crown Court heard how Sirbas Mohammed, 31, abused 2 young girls in 2022 when they were aged just 15 and 10. During a single incident, Mohammed kissed one girl on the cheek and neck, moving closer to her every time she edged away from him. Then he began massaging the thigh of his other victim, asking her to give him a massage. He was brought to court when one of the 2 girls reported the incident to a friend and later the school that she attends. In a statement read out in court, one of the victims said, "This incident has had a big impact on me. I felt a lot of anger. I have also been unable to go to school properly. I have been struggling with my mental health, struggling to sleep." Mohammed continues to deny the offense until this day, but in June he was convicted by a jury of 2 counts of sexual activity with a child. A psychiatric report led him to be sectioned and diagnosed with schizophrenia. He now requires injections to control his condition. His barrister, Thomas Evans, told the sentencing judge that this would not be monitored properly in prison. Mohammed of Marketplace, Newport, was sentenced to 15 months, suspended for 2 years last Friday. He must complete up to 40 rehabilitation days and is subject to a mental health treatment requirement. He must register as a sex offender and is subject to a sexual harm prevention order and a restraining order for 10 years. Judge Brian Foster, Casey, said, "The reality of the case is that you suffer from schizophrenia. That is a challenging mental health condition. You have served earlier this year a period in hospital. You have been compliant with the treatment program. If you are sent to prison, this will be a major step back in your rehabilitation, which will affect not only you, but also the public." But Mr. Evans said he has radically improved his situation. He is someone who came to this country as a youth with a pre-existing trauma, which is going to have an impact on his mental health.
A yellow IKEA makeover, ferry fetching. Isle of Wight ferries tend to hit the headlines for the wrong reasons these days, but it was a different story 15 years ago when a flamboyant makeover to one of Red Funnel's flagship vessels caught the eye. Red Osprey turned Canary in 2009 to celebrate the launch of IKEA's Southampton superstore. Sporting bright yellow and blue livery to reflect the Swedish furniture giant's colour scheme, the ship certainly made waves in the Solent. For the first time in its history, the ferry dropped its traditional red and white as part of a marketing campaign with the retailer. Ahead of the opening of its giant new store, IKEA joined forces with Red Funnel for its home deliveries to the island. At the time, Red Funnel's sales and marketing director, Jonathan Green, told the county press, "Red Funnel is very pleased to be working with IKEA on this and other projects. The opening of the new store will be a huge asset to Southampton and the Isle of Wight, and the painting of the Red Osprey is an exciting and innovative method of promoting this." As well as sporting yellow and blue, the ship also donned the words IKEA, accompanied by the slogan, "Home is the most important place in the world." For 12 months, the yellow ferry could be seen sailing back and forth in the Solent between Cowes and East Cowes. IKEA opened its West Quay Road doors in Southampton at 10 o'clock on February the 12th. At the time, it was said the store held 9,000 products across the 4 floors of its 34,000 square metre store. It also houses one of Hampshire's largest restaurants with 600 seats. To this date, the store is still operating and used regularly by islanders. As for Red Osprey, the ship was repainted red and white and continues to sail between the island and the mainland for Red Funnel. In May, Red Funnel revealed plans to replace its ageing fleet with 3 new vessels. Red Osprey and another of the firm's vessels, Red Falcon, are 30 years old. The company said it will be several years before the new vessels can enter service.
Celebrity chef drops in for a bite. Celebrity chef Tom Kerridge took the new owners of a high street restaurant by surprise when he popped in for a bit to eat. The renowned chef visited Striped Brasserie in Ventnor on Monday. The restaurant has recently been taken over by husband and wife Ramona and Stefan Dobre. Ramona said, "How a wet and miserable Monday went from ordinary to extraordinary. What an unexpected honor to have been able to cook for this legend. Blessed, lucky, and eternally grateful to have had Tom walking through our door." This is not the first time Tom Kerridge has visited the island. In 2022, he visited the George Hotel in Yarmouth for French chef Claude Buzzy's birthday's jamboree. Tom employs a number of chefs from the island, including former island school student Sarah Hayward.
Right, now we're going to days gone by. The county press has been bringing islanders the news since 1884, and they've delved into their archives. 125 years ago, in July 1899, a young live hawksbill turtle was found on the shore near Porchfield. The creature was thought to have escaped from a passing ship, as it is usually an inhabitant of the tropical seas. Taxidermist Percy Waldham was endeavouring to keep the turtle alive, and it was doing well, comfortably disposing of 18 small fish in one meal. The Public Works Committee recommended Ryde Town Council supported the proposed electric light railway scheme to Seaview. The proposition was carried with just 1 vote against it, as the committee thought it would be of advantage to the town.
100 years ago, in July 1924, the anniversary sports and fete at the County Mental Hospital at Whitecroft was a great success, with fine weather and numerous fancy dresses adding gaiety in the scene. Among the large number of visitors were former patients who enjoyed the opportunity to renew acquaintances with the staff and their former fellow patients. Ireland unemployment increased by 18, with 529 men registered unemployed.
75 years ago, in July 1949, plans were adopted for the Isle of Wight County Council to acquire the site with frontages to St James's Street and South Street in Newport to establish an omnibus station. The Newport Town Council clerk was to take all steps needed to implement the scheme at the earliest opportunity. A pioneer of radio and television on the island, Mr W.G. Sherratt of Newport, gave an outspoken address calling for the island to come off the fringe for reception. He said the BBC reception was worse than in 1928 and called for the implementation of FM broadcasting, which would virtually eliminate interference and would give a consistently strong signal. The Ministry of Health intimated that the tender for the erection of houses on the first section of Pan Estate was too high and asked the council to consider modifications to the plans. And the island's oldest inhabitant, Louisa Mary Way of Ryde, died aged 103. She had celebrated her birthday on April the 25th, when she was described by the county press as still remarkably well preserved and alert.
50 years ago, in July 1974, reducing the island's maximum speed limit to 50 miles per hour was recommended at a council meeting in the county hall. Dogs were a health hazard, but it was their owners who should be educated, said the district medical officer of health at a meeting of Medina Borough Council's Housing and Health Committee. Yarmouth Harbour commissioners imposed a limit of 150 people gathering on the town pier at one time.
A war hero mementos to get pride of place. Mementos from one of the most incredible heroes of the Second World War, who lost an entire squadron of tanks in one action, have been donated to the Tank Museum. Lieutenant Colonel Jack Pritchard, who retired to the Isle of Wight, had an astonishing war story. Now some of his most personal possessions will remain at the award-winning Dorset attraction. Pritchard's war involved fighting Germans in North Africa, capture, escape, fighting with Italian partisans, escaping to Switzerland, swerving internment, and returning to Italy to help finish off the Nazi regime. Now his Popeye mascot, which was attached to the front of his tank, swagger stick, sweetheart brooch, fake identity papers, along with photos and other documents, have been donated by his daughter. The Royal Tank Regiment, RTR, hero joined up in the 1930s and served in India before being sent to North Africa after war was declared. There he fought fiercely, especially at the Siege of Tobruk, for which he was awarded the Military Cross. He lost 17 tanks and the whole regiment was captured, but luckily for Jack, the German officer in charge had been a drinking buddy of his in Maidenhead before the war and ensured he and the men had food and water. Pritchard was held in an Italian camp, and after the Italian surrender in September 1943, he broke out with almost everyone else. While his comrades were captured, Pritchard hid and moved around Italy for months, living on sweet chestnuts that he loathed for the rest of his life.
He met with sympathetic Italians, had false documents made, travelled on trains and drank in bars. Finally, he ended up fighting with a partisan against Germans and fascist Italians. Pritchard escaped to Switzerland, where he was due to be interned for the rest of the war. He was put in custody, but due to the connections of his father, he was appointed aide-de-camp to Lady Mountbatten on her visit to the country. When he saluted her off on her aeroplane, she asked whether he was coming too. So he jumped aboard and flew to Paris. After 42 days' leave, he was back in Italy fighting the Germans in terrain he knew well. One Italian thought he was a German spy, and he was subsequently detailed to be shot. But by the evening, Pritchard was drinking with a senior U.S. officer who hours earlier had wanted him executed. He was awarded the Distinguished Service Order, DSO, and stayed in the army until retirement in 1957. His daughter Lacey said, "He was a gregarious man who got on with everyone, and that was important in a tank, because you were all together in a tiny space." When he returned home after escaping, our mother Eileen, his future wife, heard he had come back and knocked on his door. On hearing the knocks, he leapt behind the sofa to hide a hangover from his months on the run. When he went on holiday to Italy in the 1960s, he stopped at a petrol station and was recognized by one of the partisans he had been fighting with. He would never have considered himself a hero, but just someone doing his job. He was a family man, and Mum was his rock. He also loved the Royal Tank Regiment. And what better place is there for his things than the museum? James Donaldson from the museum said, "This is an incredible story. It sounds like a plot from a film, but Jack was very much a real hero, fighting in several theaters at war. It is extremely generous of the family to donate these items. He was a tankman through and through, and with so few of his generation surviving, these mementos become even more poignant."
And now an opinion written by Catherine James, and she calls it "Turning Blue Rinse Tide into Sea of Red." A new era. I watched the BBC election coverage till 4 a.m, a landslide Labour victory and a new MP for the Isle of Wight. So I wrote in my diary during the early hours of May the 2nd, 1997, adding, "My favourite moment was when Michael Portillo lost his seat. Ha-ha." Back then, Labour leader Tony Blair assured us that things can only get better, and after 4 terms of Conservative rule, for many, they couldn't get much worse. Consequently, by that sunny Friday morning in 1997, it was abruptly over. John Major's government was out, and I was joyously optimistic about this country's political future. Can the same be said this time round, though? As before, years of divisive, self-serving Tory rule has guttered to an ignominious end. The cumulative faces of the last 5 Prime Ministers have been given the bloody nose by the electorate, or at least those with the requisite photo ID, to be replaced by Sir Keir Starmer's considerable parliamentary majority. Sure, I'm no fan of the Conservatives, yet somehow I can't really muster the same degree of elation about 2024's election results. But why not? In 1997, voter turnout was at a modern peak of 71%, and although many people voted tactically against the Conservatives, which helped 46 Liberal Democrat bottoms, including New Ireland MP Peter Brands, to warm the green benches in the Commons chamber, there was clearly a critical number of people actively voting for Tony Blair's party. Can Sir Keir claim the same triumph? Statistically, his win was more to do with the collapse of the Conservative vote than a resounding endorsement for Labour, whose vote share crept up by less than a paltry 2%. Arguably, his landslide was the result of a pencilled cross of protest rather than a decisive choice. Electoral Reform Society analysis reveals that nearly half of the UK voters didn't vote for their winning MP. In Isle of Wight East, Conservatives' Joe Robertson was elected, yet here 69% of voters wanted someone else, and I was one of them. And if non-voting was a party, it would have the largest share of support by far. However, even with the low turnout and the unrepresentative nature of the first-past-the-post electoral system, Starmer does have a mandate to govern. So what does all this mean for the island? We now have 2 MPs of different hues. Will West Wight be rewarded for turning its blue-rinsed tide into a sea of red, bestowed with the manifesto promises of Labour's mission-driven government? And as a resident of East Wight, will my opposition MP attempt to implement his party's pledges to reduce taxes, stop the boats and enforce national service on nippers? Compared to the catastrophic clown car that was the last government, Starmer has been accused of being dull. However, when talking to me about what characteristics made good husband material, my grandmother Marjorie imparted, "You need a steady horse for a long ride." So, saddle up, folks, for hopefully stable times ahead.
And now, public information. We will address the state of Isle of Wight education by Councillor Phil Jordan. The Alliance administration is going to address the state of Isle of Wight education. A paper on school place planning was considered at our cabinet meeting last night. But the cabinet report arises from within the context of our new draft education strategy, which was published on the 8th of July. The strategy has been created as a basis of an overarching holistic drive to tackle the key issue, which our educational standards on the island. Overall, education attainment on the island is not satisfactory for our children, and it is time to put that right. There are many examples of fantastic achievements by individual students, of course, and of improvements in particular areas, but there has been a tendency to highlight those examples of success while neglecting the bigger overall picture. Our overall educational standards must be addressed if we are to do the best for our children. And it is with this as our goal that we must act decisively in the coming months. Key is ensuring our schools are properly resourced. However, schools are funded at a government set rate per pupil. So if you have fewer pupils spread across too many schools, none end up with enough money. If we address the issue of surplus places, then individual schools can be funded better. which will enable them to concentrate on standards rather than on day-to-day financial survival resulting from underfunding and lack of pupils now and going into the future. By 2027, we forecast the island will have around 3,000 pupils less, which amounts to a whopping £14 million less money each year. It is also key that we have control of our Children's Services Department, and we are no longer in a partnership with another authority. This means we now have an island-based team whose sole focus is the island and island children, rather than us being a small percentage of the workload for a local authority on the mainland. So, things have changed. We have a new honesty about where our educational standards really sit, and the fact we must do something about them. Further, through the engagement we have been undertaking with decision makers, and I hope parents, the wider public, now have a better understanding of the issues. It is not about numbers or money, but a whole island approach being led on the island to create a sustainable basis upon which to improve standards and achieve the best possible outcomes. A new dawn is just around the corner.
And now we're going on to what's on the island. And J. Miller's Circus arrives on the 26th of July at the circus field at Wootton. And it's from the 26th of July to the 1st of September. And you can book online or you can phone 07976 655 180.
Calves Concert Band at 8 p.m. Evening concert at Rylstone Garden, 11 Popham Road, Shanklin, on Monday the 22nd. On Tuesday the 23rd, Bob Howarth Big Band at 7:45 p.m. Evening concert, Rylstone Gardens, Shanklin, 11 Popham Road.
And again at Rylstone Gardens on Sunday the 28th of July, the Isle of Wight Brass is giving a performance at 3 o'clock, an afternoon concert at Rylstone Gardens.
Wolverton Manor Garden Fair on the 31st August and 1st September from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. both days. Wolverton Manor, Shorewell. Admission on the day is £8 per adult. Children under 14 go free. Advance tickets price is £6, available while stocks last, from the Isle of Wight Observer, Newport, Brightstone Village Shop, Hose Road, Dixon's Ride.
And the Garlic Festival takes place on the 17th and 18th of August at Newchurch.
The final items are now letters. Don't be daft and split the vote. A letter from Edward Lyon of Sandown. May I, through your excellent columns, ask what exactly did our East, White, Green, Labour, Liberal Democrat and Independent candidates gain from standing in our recent general election? If they had got together and decided which of them would be best placed to beat the Tory and stood down in favour of the chosen candidate, the Tory would have lost, and one of them would be our MP. Is there any real point in merely swanning around on the local media as a candidate for a few weeks every 4 or 5 years? If in future elections our left-wing candidates refuse to give way to a single one, we local left-wingers must not be daft enough to choose a people's champion different from the one given by National Tactical Voting Organization. It makes the whole exercise pointless, as it quite obviously splits the vote.
Thank you to the unsung heroes. This is from Jenny Crates in Freshwater. We have just had a team of Island Roads men working in Copse Lane, Freshwater, and I think they deserve a big thank you for all their incredibly hard work resurfacing a lot of the road and also for being so helpful and pleasant. They had to drill to get the old road surface up before fresh tarmac could be put down. Sometimes it was hot, sometimes it rained, but they just worked away cheerfully. It must be such tiring work. Sometimes people get quite grumpy at having the roads unavailable, but it's work that obviously has to be done if we want to keep our roads open. So thank you to you all. You were amazingly cheerful and we all appreciate you. God bless you.
Ferry problems will ruin holiday trade. A letter from Leila Buckley from Alton. Dear editor, my family and I are infuriated about the disruption caused to our holiday by the faulty link span on Red Funnel car ferry from East Cowes on Monday, the 15th of July. We had travelled over via Red Funnel on the Friday before for a long weekend break in a holiday rental in Ventnor and had intended to travel back early Monday morning. The plan was to get home in time to be able to pick the kids up from school after 3 p.m. However, we were informed that due to a technical malfunction, they had cancelled all vehicle ferries. This turned out to last until well in the afternoon. This completely ruined our plans, and we eventually had to make arrangements for a member of the family to go to do the school run. I understand they arranged extra foot passenger ferries, but that does not help the many of us who could not leave our car stranded over here and who had a long journey home. I did enjoy our holiday on the Isle of Wight, and it was my first time over here. But the issues we had with the ferry really puts me off coming again. For the price we paid, I would expect it, at least, to be a reliable service. From talking to locals on the island, it does not seem like this is an unusual occurrence either. It's obvious something needs to be done about this, whether it be a fixed link or new ferry provider, I'm not sure. But if not careful, the Isle of Wight is going to be losing all its tourism trade.
Now, Michael Morris from Calbourne sends a letter titled Incompetence or Worse. Dear Editor, before the recent general election, I received a great deal of literature from the various candidates. None of them mentioned one word about the massive corruption that goes on a daily basis. I have been involved with several minor projects that have led me to believe that those responsible for awarding the contracts are at best incompetent or worse, totally corrupt. On more than one occasion, the purchase of goods and materials have been at 10 times the cost they could have been obtained for. Then some years ago, a team of road maintenance workers spent the whole day in my yard at White Lane Farm and never did any work at all from 8:30 in the morning until they left at 3:30 in the afternoon, due to the fact that the management had forgotten to order the traffic lights. A friend of mine told me this was just the tip of the iceberg and regularly happens. If those who were elected would like many more examples of bad management and deliberate cost overruns, I would be more than happy to speak to them if they wish. None of our services would need anywhere near the investment they do if they were only run efficiently. So please do not keep saying that even more money needs to be wasted on them. Sack the incompetent managers and work-shy staff, and you will see a big improvement, and make them accountable for what they do. And no golden handshakes to get rid of them either.
The Isle of Wight deserves a better service. A letter from Beverly Bell, Senior Traffic Commissioner for Great Britain, from 2012 to 2017. This week, the residents and businesses on the Isle of Wight were met with yet another disruption as Red Funnel announced the cancellation of their sailings. This incident is not isolated, but rather part of a troubling pattern of unreliability from one of our primary transport providers. The impact on our community and economy is profound, and it raises serious concerns about the dependability of services we rely on. Furthermore, the alternative ferry service provided by Whitelink offers no solace, with charges exceeding £150 for a mere 5-mile journey. This price is unjustifiable and imposes an unreasonable burden on those who depend on these ferries for their daily commute and commercial activities. The monopoly these ferry companies have is holding us to ransom, severely affecting not only the daily lives of residents, but also deterring visitors and damaging our tourism industry. The economic repercussions are harsh and far-reaching, stifling the potential growth and prosperity of our community. As a committed advocate for our community and a business owner, I urge Red Funnel Ferries and Whitelink to reassess their operational practices and pricing strategies. Reliable and affordable transport is not a luxury, but a necessity for the residents of the Isle of Wight. I call upon relevant stakeholders, including local authorities and regulatory bodies, to take immediate action to address these issues. We need transparent communication, consistent service delivery, and a fair pricing to ensure our island remains connected and our economy robust. It is time for a change. The people and businesses of Isle of Wight deserve better.
Now, Joanne Turner from Binstead sends a letter saying everyone should be treated with respect. Dear Editor, I was shocked to read of the unfortunate incident at Thorness Bay in the Observer, dated July the 5th, in which Polish visitors reported discrimination. Having stayed at Thorness Bay, I would describe it as peaceful family holiday site with nice staff. I hope that the investigation reveals an unfortunate misunderstanding due to language differences and rules regarding large groups and noisy motorbikes. The Thorness Bay article includes a reference to the Polish battleship which was undergoing a refit in Cowes in 1942. And the people of Cowes were grateful when the battleship fired at German bombers. The UK and Poland were allies during World War II, and I did not understand why this information was relevant to the present-day Thorness Bay story. History records that in 1939, Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain stated that if Hitler invaded Poland, the UK would declare war on Germany to liberate Poland. On September the 1st, 1939, Hitler invaded Poland, and causing the UK to declare war on Germany 2 days later to fulfil the promise of liberating Poland. Polish troops, unable to defend their occupied country, joined the UK armed forces and its allies in their joint quest to liberate Poland. Fast forward to Thorness Bay 2024, and we must now deal with the accusation of discrimination against a group of Polish people whose only connection to the war is they have been born in the same country that the UK joined the war to liberate in 1939. I sympathise with these people and hope that an understanding is reached resulting in the accusations being withdrawn. We must not discriminate against nor in favour of any person because of their race. We should treat everyone with respect regardless of where they're from. Each of us was born innocent and without debt. The BBC In Touch programme follows, and the scaffolding news follows that. And now it's goodbye from me, Lynn.
And goodbye from Gerard.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello. TV programmes, theatre, films, stately homes, and now audio description is branching out to music gigs. Later, we're going to be finding out who came up with the idea and how it's going to work.
The backing singers and the band are on screen, and Pink tumbles right down on a bungee rope, does somersaults and starts to dance with her 3 dancers. They're wearing acid-coloured shorts.
But first, for the last 15 years or so, Cathy Yelf has been a familiar voice on this programme, first as Head of External Affairs and for the last decade CEO of the Macular Society. Well, now Cathy is to take a well-earned and much postponed rest and is leaving having done an enormous amount to raise awareness of macular disease, now recognised as the biggest cause of sight loss in the UK, especially amongst older people. We've always taken a great interest in MD on In Touch ever since the Society's founder, Elizabeth Thomas, received a huge response from our listeners after coming on the programme to talk about what she then felt was a neglected area of sight loss. I better come clean and admit that in another life for both of us, Cathy was my producer on my local radio mid-morning programme, which I only mentioned to make clear, Cathy, that you haven't always been involved in the field of vision impairment. So what got you involved in the first place?
Well, a friend of mine was the Chief Executive of the Macular Society 15 years ago, and I was thinking about leaving the BBC and doing something else before I got too old and decrepit to learn any new skills. And he asked me what I wanted to do, and I said I thought I'd really like to work for a charity. And he said, well, I've got a charity. Have you ever thought about working for the Macular Society? And I thought that sounded a brilliant idea. It was just a fluke, really, as so often I think is in people's career changes and how they finish up doing what they do.
Now, I said Elizabeth Thomas felt that macular disease was under-recognised at that time because of the problems that it caused. Is it still?
Yes, it is, in the sense that I think all eye disease is under-recognised for the impact that it has on people's lives. And it often comes in all sorts of policymakers' sort of miscellaneous pot. It comes after the cancers and the dementias and the musculoskeletal conditions, and ophthalmology, eyes, somehow always finishes up in the other pot. The other aspect of this is that because so much sight loss, so many eye conditions are related to an ageing population, the number of people being affected by age-related eye conditions, of course, is going up all the time. And that's why it's now the biggest cause of sight loss in the developed world.
Is there a sense, do you think, however subconscious, that this is one of those things that, well, it happens as you get older?
Yeah, there still may be that sense, well, you're 85, Mrs. Smith, of course your eyes don't work as well as they used to. But we now understand that macular disease is a condition to do with ageing, but it doesn't have to be inevitable. And we can do things about it. We can learn more about the disease and find new treatments and cures. And already a whole range of age-related eye conditions are treatable now. Cataract, for example, which would affect probably all of us who were blessed enough to live long enough, glaucoma and macular degeneration. We are finding new treatments and one day we hope cures for all of these conditions.
What was the situation in terms of treatment when you first arrived? Because, I remember there was a good deal of controversy going on, wasn't there, about what treatments were available, which drugs were effective, how much they cost, and indeed what was and wasn't available on the NHS?
Yes, when I joined, the first treatment for macular degeneration had just been introduced in some parts of the country, not everywhere, and it was called Lucentis. And it's injected, the drug has to be injected into the back of the eye to take effect. People were desperate to get hold of the treatment, even though it sounds pretty horrendous to have injections in your eye. And it was a big battle to get it universally available through the NHS. But it was in the end. And since then, there have been new versions, new forms of this type of drug available, which last longer in the eye. And so the number of injections that people have to have has been reduced through the development of the newer drugs, which is a great boon.
And the problems now seem to be really when you can get treatment, whether you can, get it often enough, whether there's availability in clinics. That seems to be the big problem, doesn't it?
Well, it's a big problem, certainly for the people who have the wet forms of the condition. And of course, the other development is that the treatments then became available for other forms of macular disease. So for people who have high myopia, diabetic macular disease, retinal veins occlusions and things like this. So other forms of macular disease have become treatable. And that has put a huge pressure on eye clinics. They have not been able to develop the staffing levels or the physical space quickly enough to take in all the new patients that are coming through. But of course, the other really big problem is that is a minority of people with macular disease. And the big numbers of people with dry macular disease still have no treatment at all. Some are coming slowly, but that still remains a big unmet need, as they say.
Indeed, we've talked to some of the most recent developments on the programme. To go perhaps to the more personal side of this, I mean, your involvement with the Society led you to the conclusion that eye care was rather a Cinderella service anyway, that successive governments didn't seem to be aware of the effect of sight loss on vast numbers of people, and that there wasn't really a plan, a strategy for dealing with it, or the financial resources. Is that fair?
Yes, it is fair. I think that the advent of treatments for macular conditions, AMD and other similar conditions, are being grafted onto a pattern of services that is no longer the right pattern to deliver those services efficiently and effectively to people. And so around the country, we see enormous delays of people getting treatment. And that means that they will lose their vision more than they ought to. They will lose vision. Every time there's another delay, they lose a little bit more vision. And once it's gone, you can't get it back. And so trying to encourage the government, past government, this government, the NHS in general, particularly in England, where it's such a huge service, to have some kind of strategic plan for eye care going forward, because the current pattern and delivery of services is not efficient in our view.
Are there signs of progress, both in terms of treatments and in terms of a long-term plan? It does seem there are stirrings of progress anyway.
I think there are. I think that what happened just before COVID was that people did start to recognise that ophthalmology had become the biggest outpatient specialty in the NHS, bigger than orthopaedics, bigger than anything else, more than 8 million appointments a year. And suddenly people went, oh my goodness, ophthalmology is a really big area. We ought to have a look at it. Of course, it got knocked off the top spot a bit by COVID and has struggled to get back. But we do have now a national clinical director for eye care in England, and she's doing some great work to get accelerator projects going around the country to test new ways of delivering care so that we can improve the efficiency and the throughput, because we can't have people waiting 12, 14, 18 weeks. It's too late by then. And yes, you're right. We can see some really positive, good signs starting to appear now, which is marvellous.
You are about to be in a position, hopefully you are now perhaps, to speak a little more freely than you might have done in the past. If you had one message to deliver about macular disease, what would it be and who would you deliver it to?
Well, if I have one message, it's this. Until after the Second World War, so less than 100 years ago, macular disease was considered a rare condition. And now, when you get people into their late 80s and 90s, there is an almost 1 in 4 chance of developing macular disease. People have to understand that age-related eye disease is an enormous public health problem. It is enormous, and it deserves much more concerted, consolidated efforts to try to turn that tide, because famously people keep saying that the number of people who are blind and visually impaired in the UK will double by the year 2050, will double. It is particularly hard, I think, when you lose your sight in your 70s, your 80s and your 90s. You haven't got enough time left to rehabilitate and learn to do life a different way. And the impact on the wider society, the cost to society of a doubling of the number of people in this position is untenable. And we really do have to pay attention and get a grip of this problem and start to invest really more in ways of turning that tide and reducing the number of people who are blind and visually impaired in later life, or indeed at all.
Cathy, you're still sounding vigorous and committed. Are you sure you want to leave?
No, there's going to be so much I'm going to miss, because there's such a lot of exciting work going on. If you look at the areas around gene therapy, for example, the use of artificial intelligence in understanding the early stages of macular degeneration, we're on the cusp of so many exciting things. I will definitely miss all of that. I'm going to stay working with the charity that we started with a few other sight loss charities called Action Against AMD, and that has a specific purpose of finding a way of stopping early stage AMD, which affects millions of people, from turning into
age-related macular disease, isn't it? AMD.
Yes, that's right. Trying to find a way of stopping the early forms of the disease before sight is lost. I'm not going away completely, not just yet, anyway.
Well, Cathy, it sounds as if we won't be missing out on your vivid contributions altogether. Thank you very much, and enjoy what amount of retirement you're going to leave yourself free to enjoy.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. It's been lovely taking part in Touch.
Pink herself is a 44-year-old American. She's a tall, athletic woman with short silver hair she shaved at the sides and pulled up into a quiff. She wears sparkly sequined bodysuits in white, silver and stripes.
Now, audio description seems to be enjoying something of a boom period, especially in terms of the circumstances in which it can make a real contribution to creating access. Started over 40 years ago in the United States originally with a movement to encourage TV stations to have some of their programmes audio described, i.e. adding in verbal descriptions of what's going on when all blind people were getting was silence. Cinema, theatre, tourist attractions, they all followed. And the latest development, audio described music gigs. Well, Sam Goff came up with this idea and I asked her what prompted it.
When you go to concerts, you just listen to the music, and being blind shouldn't stop me from being able to know what's going on the screen as well, or what the dancers are doing, or what, the performers actually singing and doing and all that kind of thing. For instance, when we went to Pink recently, they were chucking like sweets on the stage, and I wouldn't have had an idea of that until they told us.
By the way, if people can hear some background noise, Sam isn't at a concert at the moment. You're at Alton Towers, aren't you?
Yes, I am, sorry.
Anyway, no, it's fine. What did you do about this, having had the idea?
Me and my mum kind of were brainstorming about actually what can we do here, and, sending emails back and forth to, the concert venues, trying to figure out if there's option of having audio description. And at the time there wasn't. I
mean, has it been done anywhere else to your knowledge? Someone's bound to tell us that it has, but are you aware of it happening anywhere else?
I wasn't aware of it. I had been told that Harry Styles was the first time trialling it, and, he was really on board with it himself, and, we tried it and it worked, and then was able to get it at Pink. There was Taylor Swift as well. I didn't get to go to Taylor Swift, but just because they sing doesn't mean they're not show performers as well. Like Pink was doing acrobatics in the sky and all that kind of stuff. So why shouldn't somebody that's visually impaired or blind know what they're doing? OK,
let's bring in Caroline Jacquet, who is chair of Audio Description Association Scotland, as ADAS it's known as, and an audio describer herself. Caroline, you were obviously keen to pick up this idea?
Well, we were, yes. Most of our experiences in theatre, we do a lot of musicals because a lot of musicals tour, but it was really thinking slightly outside the box. And when we heard from Sam and her mum, what they said was, people can all get BSL at concerts, but we can hear the music. We want to know what's going on. And it just seemed like a no-brainer, actually, to try do that and extend our service a little bit.
Because concerts nowadays are very visual, aren't they? I mean, a lot of what goes on there, it's not just about the music.
I mean, they're incredible. And certainly the two latest ones that we described, Pink and Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift describes it as a sort of Broadway show, really. And there's so many visuals, and it's so colourful, and it's so dynamic, and there's so much going on. There's a lot to describe. So it's really, really worth doing, I think.
How does it work at concerts, Caroline? I mean, they're very noisy affairs for a start. There's a lot going on. I'm just wondering what the logistics are of doing it.
We've had great support from the venues. So it's been football stadia, rugby stadia that we've been in. And what they've done is given us a place either in the commentary box, or in the case of Hampden Park, it was the place where you get your prize, the cup winners.
In the football, yeah.
In the football, that's right. So there's a dedicated area, and the venue also greet people and make sure they go to the right place. We've got a small travelling kit. We've got a couple of travelling kits in Ada, Scotland, which consist of a sort of transmitter and some receivers. So the blind person can just take this receiver. They've got a set of headphones and they put it on, and we speak into the transmitter. And so although it's very, very loud, there's two things. One is that the person who's listening is quite near us so that we can see if there's any problem with them hearing. But also we can speak directly into this transmitter, so it's going straight into their ear.
Now, you've done 3 concerts to date, Harry Styles, Pink and Taylor Swift. Pretty huge names there. How much demand is there for other gigs, do you think? And, are you proposing to do more?
We'd love to do more. I mean, we do other things, like we do the Edinburgh Tattoo and stuff like that. So we do big events, but we'd love to do more concerts because I think it's really worth doing. It really draws in younger people also into our service and gives them something that's really lovely. And one of the problems is we don't get very many listeners to our audio description because blind people can't always access tickets to big gigs through Ticketmaster. It's so difficult to navigate if you're blind that people just don't get the tickets and then they can't take part in the service that we have.
As featured on In Touch, we've been talking about that as well. So thanks for bringing it up. Let's just turn to one more user, Kirin Saeed, who is not only a music fan, but an audio description trainer as well. Which concerts have you been to and what were your impressions?
So I've been to Taylor Swift and I went to Pink. And Taylor Swift was my first experience. Taylor Swift was probably one of our biggest concerts that we've had in Edinburgh. All the concerts normally go to Glasgow. So we had Taylor Swift in Edinburgh. So I was really excited because I live in Edinburgh. I know I don't sound Scottish, but I do. And
it's not compulsory. You are allowed to live. Yeah.
But it was amazing. So we get a good seating space where we are in a group with other VI. So we know that there's visually impaired people around us, and that keeps a bit of camaraderie and a bit of connection. Then we know what's happening in the concert. And that was really nice because you felt like audio description was doing what it should have meant to do, which is really basically making you feel like you were sighted like everyone else. And it's what audio description should be doing, because audio description's very often seen as the dull thing of let's just do it for theatre because it's all posh and nice, or let's do it in museums and galleries. And they're all kind of a bit stuffy places, but this is like really the practical, fantastic usage of audio description, of making it fun, making it pragmatic and making it real for lots of people.
Right, just to go back to Sam at the end, you've been the sort of trailblazer here and you've made Scotland the trailblazer. Are you wanting to see this happen, all over the UK?
Yeah, 100%. I get a lot of people on social media who have seen that I've went to the concerts that have had audio description and they're like, whoa, I didn't even know this was a thing, or that this could be an option. And it's actually, well, it should be an option. And, when you went to Taylor Swift, I can imagine her outfits were so extravagant and, all the gems and the sequins. And I can imagine how much detail that we would be missing if we didn't have it. And I'm just hoping that this can be really the push for trying to get audio description in the whole of the UK at all concerts.
So Glastonbury next year?
Hopefully, that would be amazing. What'd you say, Caroline? Let's go.
It's literally everywhere. I mean, we've started it in Scotland. We're giving the challenge to everyone else now to do it.
We'll have to leave it there. Sam Goff, Caroline Jacquet, and also Kirin Saeed. Thank you all very much indeed. That's it for today. As always, we welcome your comments, your questions, your ideas. Email In Touch at bbc.co.uk. Leave voice messages on 0161 836 1338. Or you can go to our website, bbc.co.uk/In Touch. From me, Peter White, and producer Beth Hemmings, goodbye.
BBC Sounds, music, radio, podcasts.
Scaffolding and skips news, week commencing 19th of July 2024. Newport area, Oggie's Chip Shop, 2 to 3 St Thomas's Square. French Franks, 13 St Thomas Square. 67A High Street. 130 to 132 Stainless Games, High Street. Andrew Ross, 28 Holyrood Street. On the pavement outside JD Sports, 110 to 112 High Street. Guildhall, right-hand side, High Street. Vectis Housing Association, 30 Chapel Street. And 71 to 74 Crocker Street.
Ride area. Pavement outside 29 to 30 Cross Street. Outside Artisan, Union Street. 17 Cross Street. 21 Nelson Place. 39 Green Street. 60 Union Street. 4A and 4B Pier Street, Seaview. St Leonard's, 1 Pier Road, Seaview. Ride area skips. 14 Winton Street. The Lodge, Ferry Road, Seaview. Schoolhouse Bourne, Seaview High Street, Seaview.
Ventnor area, 2 East Street. The Co-op, Pier Street. Mari Laters, Alma, Esplanade. 50 North Street. 1 Sydenham House. Hamborough House. Hurst, High Street. 28 High Street. Ventnor Fire Station, 19 South. 38 High Street. 152 High Street. And Ventnor area skips, Ventnor Fire Street.
Shanklin area. The Crab Inn, 94 High Street. 112 Regent Street. 1A Atherley Crossroad.
Cowes area, 1 Beckford Road. Fatface, the High Street. And 1 Birmingham Road.
Finally, East Cowes area skips. 32 Oakville Road.